I've got the spots, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.
The 2023 road cycling season is done and dusted. Time for us to look back on the most memorable moments, best riders, biggest flops, and most surprising results of the season. Sepp Kuss, he might have been one of the strongest domestiques of the season, but I've got three of the most loyal ones sitting next to me. Welcome Yves, Bram, and Dieter.
Hi.
Alright guys, we've got 20 awards to hand out in this episode, the season review podcast. For every category, each of you submitted his favorite. And the goal of this episode is that we agree on one winner in every category. Let's dive right into it. We'll start with the best men's team of 2023. For those who are watching on YouTube, you can add your winner in the comments for every category. So, best men's team is the first category. I'll just drop the teams you all submitted. I went for Jumbo-Visma and so did the three of you. It's no surprise, I guess, Jumbo-Visma most victories in 2023. Best team.
Well, they won the 3 Grand Tours. Their classic season might be a little bit disappointing.
Disappointing?
They wanted a monument and they didn't get one.
But that doesn't mean it was disappointing, is it? They won Omloop het Nieuwsblad, they won Kuurne-Brussel-Kuurne, E3, Gent-Wevelgem and Dwars door Vlaanderen. I get it, the goal was getting a monument, but does that mean it was disappointing?
Still think the team management will see it as a disappointment that they didn't get a monument this season.
Yeah, if that's your goal and they didn't make that goal, so yeah.
The only reason why it wouldn't be the best men's team of 2023 may be the UCI World Tour best team, which is UAE Team Emirates. What do we think of that award?
I think it's like they win it due to the type of races that they win. Yeah, like if Pogacar wins 2 monuments, I think that really helps them. But I think everyone has to agree that Jumbo-Visma is the team of the season.
Jumbo-Visma ended the season with 69 victories, followed by UAE Team Emirates 57 and Soudal Quickstep 55, getting 12 victories more than the second in that classification. Is that impressive?
Well, Jumbo-Visma had a very impressive season from the start till the end. And having 12 more victories than the second in that classification is very impressive, because try to win 12 races. I don't know how much teams weren't able to get 12 wins in the whole season, so that gap is quite big.
It's also the type of races that they win, right? It's not just like a lot of 1.1 races where I think UAE Team Emirates, especially in the Italian 1.1 races, they really farmed. But Jumbo-Visma, I think just looking at stages in Grand Tours, some like classics, and also like in UCI World Tour stage races, they win a lot of stages. So I think the quality of the wins is...
So we can agree that the first award of best men's team of this season goes to Jumbo-Visma. I think it's pretty obvious, and so is category 2. The best women's team. Yves, you went for Team SD Works, and so did Bram, Dieter and I as well. And it's even more impressive what they did than what Jumbo-Visma did, or am I wrong?
Yeah.
I think they have a stronghold on women's cycling that is bordering the unhealthy. I think with Jumbo-Visma there's been talks of that as well this year, but with SD Works, I think this is the second year in a row. Well, last year in the Grand Tours you had Van Vleuten, who was very impressive, but this year just SD Works, like I think, have they won more races together than all of the other teams combined?
Well, I wrote down the same classification for the women's teams, and Team SD Works took 61 victories. In second place is Movistar Team Women with 20 victories, and FDG Suez 19. So that's a difference of 41 victories. That's you're playing on another level.
But a lot of people are mentioning the fact it's unhealthy for women's cycling, that SD Works is so powerful. There is a reason why all the best riders go to that team. It's not only because they earn more money there, but it's the same story with Jumbo-Visma. They are the most professional of all the teams. The best training programs, nutrition plans, etc. So it's time for the other women's team to step up their game. They are trying to close that gap, and they will close it in 2024. It will not be closed, but they will be closer. And it's just, it's a build-up process for the other teams to grow towards SD Works.
Do you expect both Jumbo-Visma and Team SD Works have the most victories once again after next season?
Well, Jumbo-Visma lost Roglic, and Roglic has a big amount of wins this season for Jumbo-Visma. They will be in the mix, I'm sure, but if you see UAE right now, they are close-ish. So take away that Roglic wins, and it's a very close battle.
I want to mention one more stat about the women's teams. Team SD Works had 16 riders on their roster this season. Without Chantal van den Broek-Blaak, it is 15 because she was pregnant. 11 out of the 15 riders took a win.
Strength of the team. We saw who was a European champion again in the women's race. Bredewold. She won because she was in the Dutch team, but it's also SD Works once again in that national teams as well. So they can just choose who wins. They can go like Royster goes with 50 Ks to go, and then you have a Vollering and a Kopecky sitting there. We will chase her down.
Do they choose who wins, or is it just the first to attack the one that gets protected? Because very often I get the impression that they're just attacking, and I don't think that there's that much direction behind it from the sport directors. That's
what's remarkable. They are racing each other instead of racing the peloton, because they are playing on another level.
It's too easy for them. They are maybe too powerful, but you can't blame them. It's up to the other teams to close that gap.
Exactly. On to category 3, the best male rider of 2023. Before we talk about your picks, you all picked Mathieu van der Poel. I didn't, and I want to explain why. I picked Tadej Pogačar. And I did that because the Slovenian has been riding at the highest level from the very beginning of February until the end of October. And in almost every race he raced in, he battled for victory. And that is just so impressive to do that time after time after time. I really agree that Mathieu van der Poel had an exceptional season and he took big and amazing wins. But what stands out for me is that Pogačar, for instance, didn't take rest at Tour de France. Van der Poel used the race to prepare for the Worlds, which obviously succeeded. But that is what makes the difference for me, and that's why I choose Tadej Pogačar. And now you guys can convince me why it isn't Tadej Pogačar.
I don't think I have to convince you. I think we can all agree that Pogačar and Van der Poel both had an extremely strong season. With their capabilities, with their the stars they are, it's incredible. Mathieu van der Poel, at the start of the season, pointed out his goals, and he just ticked them off one by one, starting with the World Championship in Hogerheide in the cyclocross. That was a big target of him. He succeeded against the odds because the build-up towards it was all about Van Aert, who was able to win against Van der Poel. And then he went to San Remo with an attack, a phenomenal attack. A lot of people said it's impossible with the generation we have now to go solo on the Poggio or over the Poggio. He did it. And then going to the Tour of Flanders, where he was beaten by Tadej Pogačar, but he was best of the rest. Then Roubaix, and then just dipping down his form and just building towards the World Championships. And the way he did that in Glasgow was crazy. So he achieved all his goals. He won it except the Tour of Flanders.
And it's not like the rest was bad. I read a lot of times that Wout didn't peak good in Glasgow and blah blah. Wout had his best power file ever there. Stuyven was sixth or seventh. I can't remember, but his power file was insane. It's just that Mathieu van der Poel was, I think that was his best day in a bike ever. If I look at the watts of others, because yeah, he obviously was even better. He won the race, and how? Um, yeah, so just the best one day rider.
Bram, anything to add in this difficult discussion?
No, I completely understand where the argument for Pogacar is coming from. Obviously, he's had a very long season full of success. But with Van der Poel, he's ticking off things on his Palmares, and like he's changed into a rider that just is able to structure his season a lot smarter than what Pogacar is doing, for example. Like Van der Poel is going to be able to peak for those races that he really wants to peak at, which does make it twice as impressive that Pogacar beats him on a parcours that is perfect for Van der Poel in a race that he peaked for.
I think Mathieu van der Poel kind of introduced a new way of cycling, and I think that will become even more important the next years. Is that you just pick your races, you train for those races, you peak for those races, and for the rest you just don't care at all.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that someone like a Wout or a Remco.
Exactly, that's the big difference between Van der Poel and Van Aert. Van Aert, he wants to do it all, but Van der Poel, he just takes it all. And imagine if Tadej Pogacar would have won Tour de France. Would that make a difference for you guys in this discussion? Yes. So, if he won Tour de France, he was the best male rider for you of this season.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we should award the best male rider title to one rider. You guys voted for Van der Poel, so do I need to change my opinion or?
Well, if we want to end this segment, then yes.
Right. The best male rider of 2023 is Mathieu van der Poel. On to the best female rider of 2023. There we have two teams. Bram and Dieter, you guys submitted Demi Vollering. Eve and I, we went for Lotto Kopecky. You guys can start. Why Demi Vollering and not Lotto Kopecky?
Obviously, these two have been extremely equal this season. They've both had an incredible season. The amount of 1-2s they've had is also incredible. For me, Vollering has just been able to really step up as, for example, also a Grand Tour rider. Of course, Kopecky just gets second place in Tour de France, which is very impressive for the type of rider that she is as well. But from the Spring Classics to Ardennes Classics to the Grand Tours, Vollering has just always been there. I think the difference there makes that Kopecky's, for example, not doing, or well, not for Liège or whatever. So that's where I give it to Vollering. They've both had a very equal year. Just to me, Vollering is just that little bit more complete as a rider.
What also stands out for me when it comes to Lotte Kopecky is that she also performed in track cycling, where she took the World Championships title in the elimination race and points race. That's, on top of an amazing road season where she won Tour of Flanders for the second year in a row, what she did at Tour de France, and then going to the World Championships, where she, in my opinion, kind of played with the field. For me, it is Lotto Kopecky.
I still think Vollering. in my opinion, she's as good as a classics rider as Kopecky, and she's the better climber. So equal plus better makes better than Kopecky.
Well, Kopecky had a rough year. She had her brother passed away as well. So physically, she had a tough season with a lot of races. She did the track cycling, but mentally she was so strong as well. I remember in Nokurukush, it was only a couple of days after her brother passed away, and she said afterwards she was riding with 4 legs, so he was helping her towards that win. And it's just Kopecky grew so much this year. She became so strong. She showed she can climb very well on the Alps. In the Alps, yeah, I think maybe it's not only looking at the results, but it's also more looking at the mental strength she showed this season.
So, guys, we need one name.
Well, I'm willing to flip on mine and go Kopecky. Like I said, I think they've both had amazing seasons.
Okay, Dieter, that means the majority wins. You lose this one. Category 5 is about the most disappointing male rider in 2023. And that's the first category in which we have 4 different names. I start with Yves. He went for Julien Alaphilippe. Bram picked Binyam Girmay. Dieter, you're going with Magnus Sheffield. And I'm going with Fabio Jacobsen. Who's going first?
Well, Alaphilippe. We have had so much joy with Alaphilippe the last couple of years, with his World Championships. I remember I saw his Leuven win again on Twitter X yesterday or the day before. His form, his level back then was something phenomenal, extra. Nobody was able to get close to him. He could keep on attacking. But since, I don't know if it's 3 years now, that he's struggling to get some form, to find some form. And it's sad to see, because the talent he has, I don't know what the problem is. It's not about illness or injuries. He crashed quite hard 2 or 3 years ago at Liège, or was it last year?
It was last year, I think.
So he had a lot of bad luck as well. But this season, it went quite okay. He won the Full Ardèche Classic at the start of the season in February. So I thought, all right, we will see the old Alaphilippe back. But then he finished 11th in Sanremo. That's still okay, but then I don't know if he crashed in the E3, but he did not finish there.
Sick before, if I recall correctly. Sick before the E3.
And after that illness, he won a stage in the Dauphiné. But still, it's for a rider, Alaphilippe it's once again a disappointing season.
Well, at the end of last season, I kind of had peace with the fact that the best years of Alaphilippe, in my opinion, were behind him. I didn't have the big expectations anymore for Julien Alaphilippe for this season. Of course, he would take a win or two. But yeah, I don't think he's the most disappointing male rider of this season, because the expectations for me were already gone at the end of 2022.
Yeah, Binyam Girmay. I think last season it was sort of, his entry into the World Tour with the win in Gent-Wevelgem. And just this year, I feel like there's been no follow-up to that. I think he won once in Mallorca at the Mallorca Challenge early in the season. And since then, I don't know, there might have been a couple, maybe one win. I expected a lot more from him. We were talking at start of season, potentially monument wins in And
I picked him for
for
Milan
Sanremo.
Sanremo.
Exactly. So it's just there were quite a lot of expectations for him, but he seems to have gone backwards.
And that's where it's different to Julien Alaphilippe, in my opinion. The expectations for me were gone with him. For Girmay, I still had those expectations, and they were pretty high, but he couldn't meet up to it.
Of course, he had quite a bit of bad luck in the Spring Classics,
Yeah, Tour of
crashing.
Flanders crash was
Yeah.
pretty bad.
But like after that, the rest of the season, I haven't seen him. Like maybe he's been involved in a couple of sprints, but yeah, there's just not been any significant result from him. And from the type of rider that he is, the amount of hype that surrounds him, he needs to win races, and it's just not happening.
Dieter, before you throw your arguments on the table about Magnus Sheffield, I have one interesting stat. Sheffield finished all 5 monuments this season. He is 21 years old, and he is the second youngest rider to do so.
Okay, but yeah, he still didn't have any results this year, to be honest. I expected him. You're maybe going to laugh with this, but I don't care. Yeah, I expected him to conquer with Van der Poel and Van Aert in the classics. I expected him to be on that level.
Then I agree that it's pretty disappointing.
And but in January he pulled up to Tour Down Under as almost
People said he
as
was going to win that one.
as skinny.
I remember people saying he was going to win
Yeah,
Tour Down Under
yeah,
back in
he
the
got
day.
fourth, so not that crazy. But he pulled up to Tour Down Under, skinny as Hugh Carty. Echt, he was his jaws were like inside. He was very skinny. That didn't seem to work at all. I remember one good flash of Magnus Sheffield that was in Tour of Flanders, where he dropped off Pitters in the final of Tour of Flanders. But that's like, yeah, not what you expect of Sheffield. One good flash as a Domestique. That's not it. He seemed to struggle the whole classic season. Then in Tour of Norway, he was, yeah, his normal self again. He was, yeah, not that skinny anymore, and he seemed to ride 5 kilometers faster again. In Tour de Suisse, he was going very good in GC even. Yeah, before his crash. And then after his crash, he had a month off the bike, a month training again, and then he was already pretty good again in Tour of Britain. So yeah, after Tour de Suisse, you can't blame him for that. But in the classic season, he was just best result is yeah 22nd in Omloop, 24th in Kuurne, and yeah, always around 30th and even worse. So yeah, that's yeah, with his talents, that's
Don't we have to blame the approach Ineos stride towards the season? Like we said, he came into the Tour Down Under very skinny. So they wanted to use him as a general classification rider.
yeah. I think also in they wanted also to play with him in 1 week
Yeah,
races.
so maybe that approach screwed his first month of the season, because it's very difficult if you
Yeah,
lose a lot of weight
definitely.
to come back then on the high level. So is it then a the most disappointing rider of the season? I have my doubts, because maybe the team decided they wanted to do that approach, and didn't really have anything to say about it.
Yeah, but it still makes it's out of his power, but it's still disappointing. But also what I thought was really crazy, like in Liège, he was still that skinny, and Tour of Norway is literally only a month after, and he gained like I think 6, 7 kilos. He was you could yeah when he pulled up to Norway, I sent Erythropoetina, also a Sheffield fan, a message, and he had already seen it too, that he yeah was his normal self again. So yeah, didn't seem to work that strategy, and I hope they won't try to get him to ride 1 week stage races again next year, and just classic Sheffield again.
Okay, my pick Fabio Jacobsen. You probably won't agree on that. When Bram submitted Girmay, I thought, yeah, I agree with that. But I wanted to mention Fabio Jacobsen. He had 7 wins this season, of which only 1 win was a World Tour win. That's pretty disappointing for Soudal Quickstep, in my opinion, who is a team that has a tradition of having decent sprinters. Jacobsen had bad luck at Tour de France. He crashed. But I felt that Tim Merlier had a better season, and Mark Cavendish was at the team last year, and seeing what Jacobsen did now, I don't know if Cavendish would have done worse.
Well, he got his stage wins. His wins. I think in the Baloise Belgium Tour he was quite impressive. He was able to beat Philipsen twice, and Philipsen was, well, we're gonna talk about it later, but one of the best this season. But overall, it was quite a disappointing season. He crashed in the Tour as well pretty early on in the first stages. So his tour was screwed then, but even the sprints before his crash were bad or very mediocre as well.
Also, his positioning was.
Yeah, he didn't trust Morkov.
Yeah, it's like Morkov Cavendish trusts Morkov blindly. He just follows that wheel, sticks to that wheel till the last 250 meters, then comes out. But Jacobsen didn't dare to stay in that wheel. So yeah, with the expectations we had from Jacobsen at the beginning of the season, the name he has, the wins he has in his career till now, it was a disappointing season. I agree with that.
Okay, we need one name, and if I really need to change my pick, I would go for Binyam Girmay.
Yeah, me too, because there are a lot of other factors in the Sheffield season that I don't think he's the biggest disappointment. And I can follow Hannes saying maybe the expectations from Alaphilippe were already gone a little bit, so I'm going towards Girmay as well.
Yeah, Girmay is also a good name in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay, let's do the same for the women's peloton, the most disappointing female rider. Dieter and I, we picked Balsamo. Yves, you went for Marianne Vos. And Bram, you totally surprised me with the name Zoe Backstedt.
Pew! Didn't expect that. Okay, please explain.
Obviously, still very young rider, 19 years old. But her results in the U23 and juniors were so above the level of everyone else in those categories that her first year in the World Tour has been forgettable. There was basically no race where she was at the front.
Can I ask, what were your expectations then?
I thought that she would be able to compete in her first year.
For big races?
Maybe not for the biggest, but for decently sized races. Just purely because of how dominant she was in the youth categories. It just seemed like, okay, this is a generational talent, and maybe she still is, and it'll come in the next years.
Absolutely.
But it's perhaps just my overinflation of the expectations for this year already. She came into it, and I was super excited to see her race, and it was, basically didn't get to see that.
Although I picked Elisa Balsamo, who is still very young, I think it's pretty dangerous to give the award of most disappointing female rider to someone that is new in the pro peloton. And I also think, okay, we didn't see her at the front in a lot of races, but there are riders who did worse. Dieter, we picked Balsamo. She had some injuries or troubles through the season, but still I had the feeling Balsamo, she became world champion in Leuven, here in Flanders. The expectations were there. After that, she delivered. I had the feeling. But the next step this season wasn't there. That is why I picked Balsamo. I don't know, what about you?
Same. She, with her capabilities, she should fight for the win in every classics race outside of maybe Tour of Flanders. Maybe that's a bit too heavy, but all the rest she should be able to fight for the win. So yeah, if you look at her results this year, yeah, I don't think she even has top 20 in any of the classics. So yeah, you can't call that impressive. It's surely not for her capabilities and talent.
Over to Yves. Yves, I was kind of shocked. You picked the GOAT for most disappointing female rider, Marianne Vos.
Well, because she's the GOAT, the expectations are always quite high at the start of the season for her. And I looked at her results and I said, first of all, quite a weird program for her. She rode the three Grand Tours. And besides that, yeah, not a lot of races. So she started the season with 5 one-day classics before going to the Vuelta, and then only nationals in between, going to the Giro, a gravels race, and then going to the Tour, then the Worlds, and now a gravel race again. In the classics she rode, so Dwars door Vlaanderen, she finished third, and if I remember correctly, it was a very windy edition. And then 15 in the Ronde van Vlaanderen. I think you can say that's quite disappointing for someone like Vos with the capabilities she has.
But there is an explanation for it.
But there is an explanation, yes, but...
She underwent surgery
Yeah, she did.
recently because they at first they didn't find what the real problem was, but it turned out to be a problem with the artery. Kind of the same problem Jonas Ricard had, I think.
Clearly, there's a reason why.
Yeah, there is a reason why, but it's still weird that the program she had was all the Grand Tours. So if you have that problems, that injuries, that surgeries, why do you have to ride every time the 7 or 8 or even 9-day stage races?
Because at first they didn't know what it was.
But still, she had surgery at the beginning of the season, so they already knew there was something wrong then. And still, she won 3 stages, 2 stages in the Vuelta, and the points jersey. But after that, sometimes close to the win. But yeah, I had more expectations from her, and she's getting a little bit older as well. I don't know, she's still under contract till 2025. So she goes for at least 2 more years. And I hope to see her back at her best level next season.
I have the feeling Marianne Vos, she now faces a new, very strong generation. Kopecky, Vollering, those women are in their best years, in my opinion. Vos, she is by now a little bit older, so it gets more difficult to compete against Kopecky and Vollering. And at that age, with the problems she had this season, I think she battled pretty well. Okay, the results weren't there, but I have the feeling she tried at least.
Alaphilippe tried as well. Girmay probably tries as well.
Yeah, but with Vos, you know, like there's an injury that is a long-term injury that is known for cyclists to be very difficult to solve.
She won't get any better anymore at that age. That's what I would like to say, and that's difficult for Balsamo, in my opinion, who should be good right now. So, round it up.
Balsamo then.
I mean, I agree with that as well. Like, Backset was just, I need to vent about that.
The 2 next categories are about sprinting, in the men's and in the women's peloton. No surprises there. For the men, we all picked Jasper Philipsen, the victory king of 2023. Can we say that the competition Philipsen faced wasn't as strong as the past years in the sprinters field?
Or he's just that dominant compared to them.
Or both at the same time?
Because maybe the other guys are as good as they've always been, but Philipsen is just another level.
We've talked about Jacobsen, who disappointed.
Merlier wasn't at the Tour.
Ewan had a terrible season. Merlier wasn't at the Tour.
But Merlier's also been proven to be like very fluctuating in form. Like he loses sprints to, well,
That's maar Merlier these days is mostly in form. Sometimes he'll screw his position up very badly, but I still think Merlier purely if you look at speed is faster than Philipsen, but Philipsen is a better sprinter. Those are two different things in my opinion.
Do you think this award will go to Jasper Philipsen for the next couple of years as well?
No.
Olaf Koy can take it pretty soon.
I think Merlier next year.
Like I
Tim
think
Merlier?
there are contenders for this.
Jacobsen out at Quickstep now, so Merlier to the Tour de France, I hope, alongside Remco. I really hope so. I have strong doubts, but I hope so for a guy. And then we could see, top Merlier
Philipsen
again.
is only 25, so he will develop even more. Merlier is older.
Yeah,
I
but
think
the guy
Koy is
started cycling seriously at 25 or
Yeah, I
something.
know,
So
but Koy is younger, but Philipsen still has some margin to grow and become even better. And his season has been very impressive. He was able to beat everyone in the Tour, in other races. So yeah, he will be hard to beat the next seasons if no injuries or crashes or other things pop up.
What about Jonathan Milan? Will he be able to take the next step?
He's a different kind of
he
sprinter
needs
for
to
me.
he needs to do something about his aerodynamics. Like yes, he has 2000 watts peak. That's more than Philips. That's more than Merlier. But he's like upright on his bike if he's sprinting, and he still wins with a headwind. So that means his power output is crazy. But you can train on being aerodynamic while sprinting. So I really hope they do something about that this off season with Trek. But I think Trek is a team which I really like. I think they're good with performance, so I think they will pay attention to those details.
Okay, no surprises in the women's category for sprinting either. We all picked Lorena Wiebes. But at first, at the start of the season, it looked like Charlotte Kool would have been able to at least compete with Wiebes. She, if I recall correctly, beat her twice at UAE Tour. Did we expect more of Kool later on in the season?
I expected more from Cole. She is very fast as well, maybe even as fast as Wiebes.
It's close in a pure sprint. It's close,
But
yeah.
Cole has trouble with positioning as well. It's a bit strange because DSM has a very good sprint train, and they seem to always be at the front. But one way or the other, she always loses her good position in the last kilometer, or she runs into some trouble. So yeah, I expect Cole to challenge Wiebes more next season, and I hope we can see some nice sprints in the women's races as well.
Same question in this category. Do we think we're in for a couple of years for Lorena Wiebes getting this award?
Yes.
I think Cole can close the gap pretty soon. For me, Cole this year didn't have any expectations because it was the year that she was liberated from Wiebes. So it was like her year to prove that she was as good. And I think in many stages she has. But Wiebes as they works has kind of unlocked an extra thing where they have like more like team plays, where DSM is a lot more limited in that. Wiebes can win races in ways that Cole can't. We've seen also Wiebes attack in classics very impressively, and then suddenly stops. But like it's a type of like, it's like Wiebes is trying to grow into maybe a little bit of Kopecky, where it's not just winning by sprinting, it's also winning by like doing attractive racing. But at this point, I think Wiebes just is also the fastest sprinter.
What about Chloe Dijkert? She proved she has quite some fast legs in the Vuelta.
Was more on like Filippo Ganna on power.
She finished
That's what I think as well.
3 times or 4 times on the podium in the Vuelta. So,
But she's not really competition for Wiebes or
But
Cole, in my
I
opinion.
I'm not saying she's a competition, but she can grow towards a decent sprinter.
Who did she beat at La Vuelta? Did she beat
She didn't
Chiara
win a stage.
Consoni, for instance?
She didn't win. She in the second stage she was behind Cole and Vos. In the third stage she was behind Vos and Cole. There she beat Coponi, for example.
I think she has a sprint, but she's not really competition for the pure sprinters, in my opinion, that Wiebes and Cole are. Right, category 9 is one of the most important one for us. The best male domestique of 2023. And next week we will drop the Domestique of the Year contest on Twitter, so the audience can vote for their favorite domestique of the season. But in this podcast episode, the choice was quite obvious. We talked to him during La Vuelta on the first rest day. 2 weeks later, he stood in Madrid wearing the red jersey. We all voted for GC Kuss, Sepp Kuss, Domestique of the Year. How impressive was he? 3 Grand Tours.
Yeah, I mean, 3 Grand Tours, all of them, like, and he was always there when he needed to be. He was just super dependable on every mountain stage for Jumbo. The fact that he wins the Vuelta, in my opinion, doesn't change his status as a domestique. There might now be people saying, oh, he's not a domestique, he won the Vuelta. He won the Vuelta because he was a good domestique and the team wanted to reward that. I think it's fair to assume that if the team decided that Vingegaard should have won that Vuelta, it would have happened. But just the sheer like dependability of him in every mountain stage is just incredible.
We now voted for him as Domestique of the season. Do you think now that he's won La Vuelta, his role might change?
No.
I talked to Dieter as well about it in the Giro course reveal of 2024. Roglic is gone at Jumbo-Visma, which opens up a spot for the Grand Tours. Will Sepp Kuss be the rider to fill that spot?
Why not send him to Giro? Let him ride for himself, and he can still do the tour after as Domestique Friones. Why not?
He doesn't enjoy that.
Yeah, he has to. I don't know how he looks at it after the Vuelta. He has to see for himself. If he wants it, he should
He
definitely
said-
get
He
the
said
chance.
never
He
again.
said never again.
Oh yeah, then
But maybe he didn't enjoy it because Vingegaard and Roglic were there and were
yeah.
maybe stronger.
Still,
I don't-
If he has a team in support of him,
No,
that's totally different. Or is it the fact that he doesn't like the stress on his shoulder?
he doesn't like that pressure. He doesn't want the team in his support that he can disappoint if he has a bad day. He's a guy that doesn't want to disappoint his companions, his teammates. We saw it in the Vuelta even. Some little things like Sepp Kuss is in the front seats and the leader Roglic is coming. he doesn't want to be leader. He's just there as the main man to help the leader achieve the biggest goal, and that's where his effort he puts in through training. That's where he lives for what he lives.
Anyway, leader or domestique, I think we can all agree on the fact that we will keep on enjoying the work Sabkus is doing. Category 10 is the best female domestique of this season. Eve and I, we picked Marlene Reusser. Bram, you went for Pfeiffer Georgie. And Dieter, you picked Majerus. Is that rather a lifetime achievement award? Or how do we understand this?
She's also just still a beast. Marlon Reusser rides more for her own chances this year, to be honest. I didn't see her domestiquing a lot.
I don't agree
Tour
with
of
that, actually.
Flanders, she rode for her own result mostly in the most classics. But
Tour de
Majerus,
France Femme?
There were a couple of times where she attacked in the final couple.
Yeah, but
Instead of
Koes attacked as well.
Reusser really didn't.
but not like in the final kilometers.
Reusser
when
really didn't
it's a sprint
domestique a lot
stage.
this year. But Majerus was pure domestique every race, and if there's like an echelon or something, there is an echelon before, she just pulls the gap. It's like she's so impressive, and that's if we see that, and yeah, we think, oh, it's Majerus, but no, it's not just, oh, it's Majerus. It's so impressive. If she would ride for her own chance in Roubaix, she would probably top 5 about every time. Like, so see, yeah, I don't. If you look at kilometers, Majerus led the peloton, and the kilometers Reusser led the peloton. Majerus has like 10 times more kilometers at the front, I think. So yeah.
Eve, you got my back with Marlene Reusser, but we got smacked in the face here. Help me out.
I don't agree with the fact that Reusser was more riding for herself than for the team. She, on a couple of occasions, she got the chance to ride for her own glory. Hand for example. In the Itzulia woman, she was appointed as leader as well, and I think following Domestique for Reusser back then. But besides that, in the Vuelta Tour, she domestiqued her. She did everything she could for the leader in that race. And did she attack in the final case?
She did it once.
She
There was
did
one
it
stage
once.
she tried to get a stage.
And then
That's true.
at one other stage she had a gap unintentionally, and she didn't know what to do.
I think it was the stage that Lippert won, where that would have been a sprint.
Yeah.
She could do the lead out for Kopecky, and 3 kilometers before the finish, she just went for it. It's like, why? Like, you can win the stage with Kopecky. Again, like, Kopecky was the best sprinter there, but she didn't have a lead out anymore.
But if you guys say that Reusser was too much of a leader, I think we can say the same about Pfeiffer Georgie.
Pfeiffer Georgie has a very fluctuating role within the team, I feel. If you have races where Cole is present, there's she domestiques quite hard for her. If there's races that are more suited for her, she gets the leading role. But I get the feeling that she's always giving everything, whether or not she's a leader or not. And that's something I really respect in Domestique, same as Sepp Kuss. Even a leader or not.
She was the leader in the classic season.
Not every time.
Most of the time she was.
Was she
She got 5th in Omloop het Nieuwsblad, 9th in Strade Bianche. She won Classic Brugge de Panne, 11th in Gent-Wevelgem, 16th in Tour of Flanders, 8th Paris-Roubaix, and 7 Amstel Gold Race.
If you think like that, look at Reusser.
No, but
Trash.
no, but just think about how that race went. Was she in the break or was she in the peloton?
Yeah, but that's one race.
Yeah.
I took about 8 of them.
If you are going to think like that way, Reusser's results are even 5 times more impressive. Even in I think she won Tour de Suisse. even this year?
Yeah, she
And-
won because that was the race and Itzulia as well.
There were races in which she was appointed as the leader.
Yeah, there were
And in
a
those
lot
races,
more
it's
races
obvious she
than-
rides for herself.
Yeah, I don't say she did anything wrong. She is just
Don't feel offended.
Yeah, but yeah, maybe it seemed like I said she needed to domestique, but she didn't. That's not what I mean. I mean she's too good to be a domestique. She's a leader within SD Works, and she maybe did a bit of work in the Tour and Vuelta, but that really wasn't a lot if you compare to a pure domestique like Majerus, who domestiqued the whole year in every race.
That's true, I can't blame you.
This is gonna be a problem to get one name out of this discussion.
Yeah, in my opinion, I wouldn't go for Georgie. That's for sure.
I wouldn't go for Royce, so that's clear then. On to the next point.
Let's call it a victory for Dieter Loos then. Aye, Eva's not agreeing.
Maybe this is one that we need to let up to our viewers.
He's doing like.
That's maybe a good idea. For those who are watching on YouTube, you can decide who gets the title of Best Female Domestique. Just drop it in the comments. Thanks, Bram.
Thanks, Bram.
We save time like that.
Category 11, the most improved male rider of 2023.
A fun one.
Yeah, very interesting category. And 3 different names. Totally different, actually. Bram and I, we went for Ben Healy.
Ah, that's a good one. I didn't think of the guy.
Yves picked Skjelmose. And Dieter was kind of a surprise, what I read when you sent it. Adam Yates.
Sorry.
Oh, that was kind of a laugh.
The transfer from Ineos to UE got a lot of people said, "Why, that's not a good transfer. What's he doing?" But he's at easily the best he's ever been. The numbers prove that, and it's not a small difference. And he already was at a pretty high level at Ineos. So it's super impressive that UE got an improvement that big out of him. But now I heard the name Ben Healy. Ben Healy is a lot
Well, improved a little.
is a way bigger improvement than Adam Yates.
You say the move to UAE Team Emirates made Adam Yates better. Isn't that also the fact for Tim Wellens, despite his injuries?
I think he also said it in over the winter that he was training so much different. And when I heard the things he was doing, I thought like this isn't that logical that you're doing that? What were you doing before then? So I think this is like the first year Tim Wellens is training as he should. It seems like.
Yves? Skjelmose?
Yeah,
Good pick, but not the best.
I was very impressed by Skjelmose this season. He started very strong in a smaller race, of course, Étoile de Bessèges, where he won the fourth stage before moving to some French races, Paris-Nice, and then a Grand Tour, the Tour, where he did very good, in my opinion. He was in the break a lot of times, showed himself, worked for the team, did everything he could to get Ciccone that polka dot jersey in Paris. And then his worlds were crazy as well. He was one of the strongest in the race together with Pedersen, till it started to rain and he lost confidence in his tires. So he changed wheels and he lost his race there. Still finished 14th after a bike change, and the race we saw there was very hard. So for a young guy, 23 years old.
I don't think he changed bikes, but he stopped
He
to
changed-
do
To let off pressure of his tire, yeah. And then he went to the USA at the end of the season to win the Maryland Cycling Classic,
which was a tough race, by the way.
which was a tough race. So the guy has been performing from February till now on the highest level. We already saw some glimpses last year at the end with the Tour of Luxembourg, where he won, but with all respect, he made a big step this season. But I was doubting between him and Felix Gall. No one mentions Felix Gall. Those two guys weren't on my radar, I have to be honest, before this season, and they shot up in the ranking.
Was Ben Healy on your radar? Besides the fact that we picked him once for
So yes, he was all on our radar because he was
the Young Wolves
the young
concept.
wolf.
And he was interviewed by Erythropoetina, I
Yeah.
think, before the season,
Yes,
right?
in the off season when he said that he would like to be a Grand Tour rider. Ben Healy, Bram. Dieter already agrees with us. Yves is still in doubt, but we'll get him on our side. Superb classic season. Was beaten by Dorian Godon and Brabantse Pijl, and then by one Tadej Pogacar.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Who's that? In Amstel Gold Race. He went to Giro, showed himself a lot. The Irishman, for me, is really the most improved rider of this season. Anything to add from your side?
I mean, I'll just put it in numbers with PCS points. Last season, Ben Healy had 93 points. This season, he had 1,034. Compared to Skelmose, last season had 890, so he's not coming out of nowhere, to 1,595 this season. So it's like Skelmose was already getting really good results last year, so his progression, just because he's getting older, he's getting better, is not that unexpected. With Healy, for me, it just came out of nowhere.
Beaten by the stats, Yves.
I don't care.
And the most crazy part is that I'm convinced that Healy wasn't at his best level in the classics. He was at a better level in the first 2 weeks of the Giro. His power file in that crazy solo stage was a good amount better than his power files in Liège and Amstel Gold Race were. So now I also don't think EF expected this, so now they do expect this for 2024, and they can play more into it. I think Healy will be even better in the Spring Classics, in the Classics next year.
Fun thing, only 15 days difference. Skelmose is 15 days younger than Ben Healy. So, same year, same month.
All right. We count on your goodwill, Yves.
Yves has nothing to say, yeah? 3 against 1.
Nothing to say, move on.
Okay, next category will be one of the most difficult, I think. The most improved female rider. Yves and Dieter, you had the same pick. You can start.
Gaia Rialini,
Was a good one.
I didn't know her before this season, I have to be honest again, I think. She started very early in the UAE Tour this.
Yeah, she did some really good work. Domestique work for Elisa Longo Borghini on, was it Jebel Hafid?
I think you could have dropped her there if you
Yeah, she
wanted
was
to.
better.
I thought she would be gifted to win there, but nope. Elisa said no. And then everything that went uphill, she was at the front. She finished third in her first Grand Tour, the Vuelta. Then went to the Giro and finished third as well in the general classification, and third in the Tour de l'Avenir Femme. So, yeah, very strong season, and it's really a mountain goat. I don't know what her weight is.
According to Pro Cycling Stats, 40.
40.
Yeah, I
So
thought
is
was,
it big watts or is it just no weight?
I thought it was 42 kilos, the real weight, and yeah, both big watts, but yeah, it's obviously not big absolute watts. Like if she does 300 watts, she's doing 7.5 watts per kilo, so I'm doing 2.
Well, what's interesting to see, she finished ninth in the World Championship gravel, being so small.
Yeah,
so
but it was
light.
a very tough
But it
parcours.
was
So.
tough, but still, yeah.
But that's also, to be fair, 6 minutes down.
Okay, Bram, we both picked a Dutch rider. Go ahead with Demi Vollering.
Yeah. And that's purely because of the step up that she made as a Grand Tour rider. We all knew that she had it in her for like Ardennes Classics. She's always been really good at Liège, and actually in the past, like also really good at sprinting. In middle success in like reduced group, she was always really good. But this season, like being able to beat Van Vleuten at the Tour, that to me is it's going to another level, and just the entire season has been so impressive. That's why I also found her the best female rider of the season. Just compared to the previous season, it's I didn't expect her to be able to do this.
So the pick is based on the fact that she took one spot up on the podium of Tour de France Femme.
Well, the last year, it wasn't like the gap was so huge between the two. Like she's closed that gap and then added some. That's
It's not only that, it's also that Van Vleuten was way worse than last year. Also something to
yeah, but just in general, like the way that Vollering just in every stage has been
that's
amazing.
true. Yeah.
In the last years, I didn't get the impression that she was the best, but this year, she just is. And yeah, Kopecky maybe, but
All right, guys. Did Demi Vollering beat your Gaia Realini pick?
I do think Realina is a good one. I almost wrote her down as well.
Okay. I'll drop one other name. I picked Shirin van Anrooy. Nope. Shirin van Anrooy for me. Why? Trofeo Alfredo Binda was one of the main reasons, one of the toughest one-day races in the Women's World Tour, where she soloed for 25 kilometers and different attacks from behind didn't succeed to catch her. Her classic season in general was really good. Second place in Vuelta a Burgos Feminas after Demi Vollering, but she beat quite a strong field there. And besides that, a lot of domestique work for both the Dutch team and the little track team. That's why I picked Shirin van Anrooy. But of course, yeah, you guys said I didn't know Gaia Realini last year. I do know her now. We all knew Shirin van Anrooy last year, that's true. But also in cyclocross, I think she really stepped up. Make it or break it.
I think with Van Androoy, it's definitely an impressive year. And what makes it really interesting is that there's so much domestique work in that as well, where it does seem that the team, I'm guessing when she has to ride with Balsamo, that Balsamo does get the preference.
Dieter is going for a Minute Maid sponsorship.
It doesn't have the brand on it. You just name drop the brand.
In a lot of cases, I had the feeling that Van Anrooy was domestiquing, but at the same time, she was better than the leader she was domestiquing for.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she had a really good year, but was it in line of expectations or was it above?
In line of expectations?
Strade Bianchi last year even. She was
Mate, I'm going to listen when you do that Crystal Ball episode of 2024.
just outside top 5, I think. Last year's Strade Bianchi was one of the toughest races.
She won Tour de l'Avenir Femme as well this season. Apparently, that was mentioned earlier too.
I'm shot dead without
But if
saying a word.
you compare with Gaia Realini's improvements, I don't think.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. The improvement Realini made came from out of nowhere to finishing twice on the podium in a Grand Tour. 2 of the 3 Grand Tours this season she was on the podium, and she finished 3rd in the Tour de l'Avenir podium as well. So Hans is looking up right now. She finished 3rd in the Vuelta and 3rd in the Giro d'Italia.
It's also interesting how these are
Yeah,
both
he's
riders from
looking
the
at
same team.
at Strade Bianchi from Ciro van
No,
Andel.
I
that
rest
was,
my case. I already said that Gaia Riolini was a decent pick. No,
Also said
I
it
just
was-
don't agree on the fact that we should compare it, that it should be coming from nowhere. Because you can also improve when you already have a base, but then
You
you
can
can
improve.
build on that.
What did you expect from Sharon van Androoy then this year? Genuine question. Just what did you expect
I
from
didn't
Sharon?
expect her to do what she did at Alfredo Binda.
Also, to be
Definitely not.
fair, it wasn't an impressive victory, but it was a good moment to attack. The group behind her didn't work at all. Didn't work together at all. So yeah, I.
So it's
Tour,
the, it's, the,
Tour of
it's now,
Flanders.
now it's the group's fault she won.
Tour of Flanders in performance was way more impressive in my opinion. Although she didn't win that, but that was
And SD Works wasn't at the start in Alfredo Binda. They were
basically
sorry.
basically
They were,
a free
they
win.
were.
Basically
But-
free win.
Yeah, it's basically a Riolini win, no doubt.
Yeah, Riolini win, but
Okay, well.
I have my thoughts. Next one is the best one-day race in the men's peloton. Bram and I once again together, lining up
You choose.
for Tour of Flanders. Tour of Flanders, yeah, one hell of a race.
Yeah, go ahead. Why?
Tadej Pogacar against Mathieu van der Poel against Wout van Aert. That was the real
Against
build-up
Mats
towards.
Pedersen.
That was the real. Let me speak. That was the real build-up towards, Flanders' finest. And what we witnessed was a huge battle against Pogacar and Van der Poel, and one of the most crazy things I've ever seen in Tour of Flanders on Eau de Quaremont.
Before the cobbles, I'm gone. But the good, I'm gone.
Yeah, I tried that as well on the Domestique social ride. It's hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, like just that to me, from the moment I saw this question, best one day race, I only thought of Ronde van Vlaanderen. Just these two have a chance to jog my memory and bring me a different.
Yves is of course going to say Man World's Road Race because his favorite rider won. No, it was a very good race as well with all the best riders, all the best one-day riders were there.
So it's the same race. Yes.
But there was a crash in the final of Glasgow, and there wasn't in Tour de France. Makes it even more exceptional.
Okay, I'll ask Tadej Pogacar next season
I
to
mean,
fall
there
off his
you-
bike,
you have-
get on.
Do you want him to crash?
But
No,
in-
you like Van der Poel crashing?
No.
That makes
It's
it your
it's
best
the
one day race.
heroic scene it was at that time.
I like it to
yeah,
be
but there
heroic
you have Group
on
2
the bike.
syndrome, where the Group 2 just looks at each other and they don't fully commit to the chase, where in Ronde van Vlaanderen you actually had one chasing
Pogacar
one.
obliterated the field, and I've never seen it before.
What's your pick?
I don't dare to speak. Paris-Roubaix, I think I chose.
It's not a bad race.
Poor John Degenkop.
Yeah. Only the picture from our tweets, a picture from the side of the race. Only the picture with Degenkop, Philipsen, and Van der Poel makes it the best race this year. Amazing picture, no.
It's obviously one of the best pictures I've seen lately.
Yeah, true. But I don't know.
You don't know why you picked it, or
I'm doubting between Flanders and Roubaix because I think if Van Aert didn't flat, it would easily be Roubaix. But now it doesn't. Pogacar was very impressive, but it doesn't make it the best race. I don't know.
but
The
at a
best
certain
race-
point, everyone thought that an elite group of like 8 to 10 riders was about to win Tour of Flanders. The difference was 3 minutes.
That's true.
I
That's true.
asked it to you guys. You all said, yeah. For a second, I thought
Yeah,
that
true.
group was
Me
going to
too.
make it to the
Okay,
line.
yeah, that's true.
And
Well.
then Tadej, he started his
I
fireworks.
switched to Flanders. You the 3-minute group makes me switch.
Chaka. Big win, Bram. Best one-day race for the women. It's a 3 versus 1 here, and I have to disappoint you, Dieter. You picked Roubaix again. Paris-Roubaix Femmes.
I really liked the not stop women going for the win in the monument. Different tactics, different. Yeah, it was just really nice race to watch, to be honest. And then the Femke Marcus crash with like 500 meters to go. Also a very exciting finish because I think she would have won it.
I'm asking a
Otherwise-
question about what you think is exciting. You're talking about a lot about crashes.
That was him, the first crash. But which race did you guys choose then? Flanders or?
We picked Strade Bianche Donne. The battle of Vollering and the horse, and Vollering.
I switch again. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, first the horse.
No, it was the start of kind of
Yeah.
a saga between Vollering and Kopecky. They both sprinted for the win. No one knew what was the agreement between them.
They yelled trut and things like that. Yeah, they sprinted away from horse. They yelled at horse. Yeah, Strade Bianchi definitely.
Strade
I
Bianche
agree.
had it all.
I agree.
Yeah, it's just super memorable race. Like lots of action, and just those two sprinting against each other is just well. And whatever happened after the finish.
But in the end, all was good at the end of the season. They get along
Yeah.
decently, or don't you think?
I don't know. I don't know to what degree that's produced or not.
I don't know. I don't think they are best friends, but they're just. It's maybe a Van der Poel Van Aert story, but they have the issue they are in the same team. But it's
or
like
a Remco Wout story.
Yeah.
Like if they ride in the national team, they're obviously
They
not
can-
friends. But
I think it's better than that. Okay. Strade Bianche Donne was the best women's race for one day on the season. Best stage race for the men's peloton. There we have Eve and I picking a Grand Tour, and both of you picked a 1 week
I
stage
didn't
race.
know you could also pick a Grand Tour.
That's 21 stages.
Stage race. I think of 1 week races, and I don't think of a Grand Tour if you say stage race. But that's just me.
Welcome in cycling.
But yeah, to be honest, all 3 Grand Tours were kind of boring this year. I think we can say that for GC, for the win in GC. Giro was exciting until the end, but it was shit racing. Tour wasn't exciting until the end. Vuelta wasn't exciting until the end.
You thought Ayuso was about to win it, so
No.
it.
do you both have the
Wasn't
same
for-
Grand Tour?
We both have the same one.
guess.
Despite
guess,
both
guess.
being.
Vuelta?
Is it the Tour?
Whoops.
Woobity, woobity.
Despite both being Tadej Pogacar fans, we picked Tour de France.
There was only 7 minutes 30 between the first and the second.
Very exciting race. Yeah.
But I always had an exceptional love for Tour de
I
France.
stay with Catalunya then.
Pretty biased. Catalunia?
I really like that race.
That was the fight
Remco
Evenepoel
Roglic.
against Roglic? That was a good one
A
too.
big watts. Very big watts. That's also
And
good.
an angry Remco. Bram, Paris-Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the small Tour de France, isn't it?
A little bit, but in that one, David Gaudu actually was able to do some results.
For once.
That was the big difference between Paris and the Tour de France, and of course Tadej Pogacar and not Vingegaard winning it. I really like that race because it was a really good sprinting stage. I don't think there was a boring sprinting stage. Or it was GC days. There were 3 GC days, 3 sprinter days, 1 stage was cancelled, maybe for the best of the race. And just none of them were boring. In a Grand Tour, you always have boring stages that you just don't remember. And Paris just had all good stages.
Wasn't there a team time trial as well?
But it was a very interesting team time trial because the time of the first rider counted. Like, even that one, you looked forward to it because it was a concept that hadn't been done before in a team time trial, and it was interesting.
Yeah, that was
You're making a
exciting,
strong
yeah.
case.
I want to add I think the only sprint stage in Catalonia was, I think, the one where Caden Gross crashed, jumped back on his bike again, rode back to the peloton and won it. So also a pretty exciting finish for a sprint stage.
Which other sprinters were there?
He beat the mighty Brian Cocard, who got his
Okay.
first World Tour victory this year.
Yeah, Yves, what do we say?
Still going for the Tour.
Even though there are boring stages.
No, you had a ping pong battle like Vingegaard with the first blow in the stage with the Muddy Blanc. Then the stage after, when everybody says it's already over and Pogacar isn't able to compete with Vingegaard,
Bang.
Pogacar says, screw it, and the stage to Cotteret. Take some time back. Then we have a ding-dong battle between the two. Pogacar is the attacker, and then there is always a gap of 5-6 seconds. Vingegaard isn't able to close the gap fully. Pogacar isn't able to extend. Then you have that battle, the Colombier, and then that other Puy de Dôme are a couple of examples. And then indeed, the time trial was the first blow from Vingegaard, but that was impressive racing as well. No one saw that coming, how Vingegaard obliterated the opposition, not only Pogacar, because Pogacar himself obliterated the others. So it's not like Pogacar did a weak performance. And then, of course, the Courchevel stage where Pogacar completely cracked and lost 5 or 6 minutes. But still then, in the last mountain stage to Markstein, Pogacar even said, I'm still going for that win. He let his team work the whole day and got that another stage win. So yeah, in the general classification, there was a huge gap between first and second. But the racing we saw through that 3 weeks were close to the best I saw in a Grand Tour. And the result at the end isn't there, but I liked every single second of the Tour de France this year.
Wow.
Every single second.
Also,
Yeah.
Pogacar on Col de la Loze.
Yes, that's the cycling.
Yeah,
It's-
Okay, guys, I'm dead.
Yeah.
That's what cycling is all
Yeah,
about.
that's
Then you
true.
have to enjoy how Jumbo-Visma played that out.
I kind of forgot about how scared I was for a second that Pogacar was going to beat Vingegaard. I thought, fuck, I had a really big mouth about Vingegaard before the tour, so I thought, fuck.
No, it's just always the tour takes you on a roller coaster, and you only get off in Paris. It's I don't know. It's something else for me.
I mean, it's true.
Allee dan.
The reason
can
why
have it.
I don't pick a Grand Tour is because the length of interest needs to be so long, and you always have like serious dips. Like I think stage 12 where Yoni Zagire won.
Yeah, he dropped on the first time they did the climb, and then on the second climb,
Yeah.
time he attacked and he won.
Still remember, so it
Yeah.
has been a
I was-
remarkable. It was a remarkable stage.
I
No,
was
I
just
don't
about to
remember.
ask,
No,
does
I
anyone
don't
remember
care.
that stage?
Because
I don't.
I remember because I betted on
Yeah, I
him
know.
that day.
Right. Okay, so you had some self-interest. But
A bit.
So you guys
I agree
are
with
in
Tour de
for a
France.
roller coaster ride at Tour de France.
sure.
Okay.
Just like it's shorter. Like Paris-Nice.
Category 16 was the best stage race for the women. Eve and I, we stayed in France. Bram joined our holiday at Tour de France Femme. And Dieter went for Vuelta Femenina.
Yeah, very
Is it
exciting.
because you're learning Spanish now, or?
No, very exciting last weekend with Vollering losing the top spot to Van Vleuten. Some really good racing, some really tactical racing there with the most
And
improved
they
cyclist,
had
Gaia
an
Helene.
argument as well, I think. Didn't
That
they?
was in a tour.
Was it in a tour?
Where they break downhill.
But what I was, it
Iconic
was
moment
like,
in cycling.
that was a really close and exciting last weekend. But then, yeah, if you compare it to the Tour, which Vollering won like this, I think the Vuelta was way more exciting.
Wasn't the Vuelta the stage where Van Vleuten picked the wrong moment to... Vollering picked the wrong moment to stop?
To have a sanitary stop, I
Yeah.
think.
It got tactical, and I think
And then Van Vleuten started, or the
attacked
team
with
with the echelon, I think.
yeah with Gaia Rialini. Van Vleuten was
Yeah.
on attack with Gaia Rialini, I think.
Yeah, but still.
Guys, why Tour de France fun?
Lotte Kopecky, her performance through that week was exceptional. Ricarda Bowenfeind winning that stage. I like her. We followed her for Young Wolves last year or this year. This year. And I really like her. Last year she was in the Canyon Generation team, and she took that win in an impressive way in the Tour right now. And then the performance we saw from Kopecky on Alpe d'Huez, and then the battle Tourmalet, sorry, and then the battle Vollering Van Vleuten, where Vollering proved she was in a better shape than Van Vleuten. So I think Tour de France Fun was an entertaining week of racing.
I think you're completely right, mate.
Thank you very much. Let's move on.
The man moment of the season. Yeah, of course, we already talked about that one. Bram and I, we have here obviously Pogacar on Eau de
We have
Quadra.
the same again?
Yeah, great minds.
Did I fill it in
Don't-
first and then you base it off of my list?
Yeah, Yves, once again. Van der Poel Worlds he sent me. I don't know if he's talking about that crash or the performance in general. And then another Van der Poel moment for Dieter on the Poggio.
Yeah, I was doubting between them. as
Anna,
well.
Pogacar, Van Aert, klinken het wiel.
No one thought it was possible to go,
And on the
Solo
flat part
over the
of the Poggio. So, yeah.
and he did it.
I think if we're talking about one moment, that the Poggio moment
Yeah, we're talking about one moment. Huh?
stands out.
Okay, so I win.
But in general,
Discussion closed.
no. Now we have to compare it to.
It
our
is
moment.
it is a really special moment on the Poggio. I think in the world there were so many moments for Van der Poel that of course you have the moment where he finally rides away, but there were so many other attacks leading up to that moment that it sort of became inevitable that he would. Where Pogacar on Quaremont, like I've never seen that before. That a Grand Tour rider attacks there and basically drops all the classics riders bar 2.
For me, it's pure history. The Tour de France winner comes to Flanders and obliterates everyone on a cobbled climb.
Already long time ago, he won the Tour de France now. Eh?
Shut up. At that point, it was only 1 year ago.
Really?
Yeah?
Yeah. No? No? 2 years, eh?
Well, a
The
year and a half
former
if you
Tour
want
de
to be.
France winner.
Yeah, no, it's true.
He
Yeah,
won it twice,
Yeah.
and next year it will be his third time.
yeah. It's,
I agree with that Eau de Quaremont
Yeah,
moment.
me too.
I think they are both as phenomenal. I can't choose between the two. I have to
I
be
think
honest.
if you purely look at its performance-wise, Pogacar Quaremont is going to be the most impressive. But as you said, that like Poggio was just it's always like a climax, the Poggio, and then Van der Poel goes there and wins it solo. That's more of a moment than the Quaremont, while
But
Quaremont is more
I
impressive
don't
in
think
my
I'll
eyes.
ever see someone ride up Eau de Quaremont faster
Maybe him next year.
than Tadej
But
Pogacar.
outside of that, that's true. Yeah. But yeah,
I think both are iconic moments in cycling history
it's hard,
now.
and also Glasgow is also a good one. So this is a very hard one. Maybe we can let it up to the fans again.
One for the fans. Okay, good. 2 more categories to go. The 2 surprises of the season. First, the men's surprise. Who's kicking off?
Didn't we forget women moment of?
Women.
Oh,
moment of
right.
season. Sorry. Yeah.
This is getting along. Huh?
I see Kopecky Tourmalet for me. Kopecky Tour de France in combination with the Worlds. That's a pretty long moment for Yves. Bram, you picked the Strade Bianche sprint against Lotte and Demi. And then Dieter joins my Kopecky on Tourmalet.
Yep. No specific preparation. The only preparations she did were some races with juniors, purely on explosivity for Glasgow Worlds. And then without an altitude stage, she went to the Tour de France and got second in the Tour. How much is he? How much does she weigh more than Vollering? About 10 kilos probably. So yeah, easily moment of the season for me.
Easily, Yves.
Yes.
But yeah, it's
the start of your moment.
yeah, I don't. It's a very long moment, but that part of her season, the combination, the tour where she was at top level at the start, the way she climbed on the Tourmalet, and then the Worlds, track, road, that block this season is one moment for me, a phenomenal moment in her career that she will remember for a long time. She knows she can climb very well. She has multiple rainbow jerseys in that period. So yeah, it's a long moment. I agree that we should pick maybe the Tourmalet thing as a real moment, but just I wanted to focus on that combo.
Maybe we can take Tourmalet ascent in general, Bram, to make you happy. Because what the fans did there on top of Tourmalet for the finish of a Tour de France Femme stage, that was incredible. The scenes on top of Tourmalet.
Yeah, definitely. It's like the scene that comes with it makes it historic because, well, first of all, I think this is the hardest climb that's ever been in a women's stage race. Potentially the hardest ride that these riders have ever done. See Kopecky on that climb, just following the riders that she shouldn't really be able to follow. It is super impressive. For me, Kopecky and Vollering sprinting in Strade Bianche is just more of a moment where, like, you don't know what's going on. Like, why are you doing this? Like, I was so confused. And it is, like, the relationship between those two, that's where it became contentious. Because, like, it was like, these two hate each other, right? And in the rest of the season, it's sort of like, it's kind of like the start of a story arc over the whole season, which I think in cycling is really important. Story arcs, because we always see...
Cycling is a big story.
We always see heroes and villains, and like some people really play into that. And just this moment, like, kickstarted it. So
Tourmalet.
I can agree with the Tourmalet because
But
of
yours is a good moment too, to be honest.
because of what I have in the next.
The man surprise of the season. Yeah, you can start. Joshua Tarling,
Yeah.
the powerhouse.
Yeah. And specifically Joshua Tarling winning as many TTs against the riders he's winning against. He's not winning against just randos. He's beating the best in the world, especially in the latter part of the season. Well, really only in the latter part of the season because that's when he started winning. But beating Remco in TTs, beating Ghana, beating Van Aert.
He's a year younger than me.
He's 19 years old. Like, where is this going? Like, for me, Tarling, of course, I had heard about him joining the team, and there were some expectations. It was known that he was a great time trialist. But him winning Euros, getting like really good place in Worlds, and for example, in the
Genewi Titi. Genewi Tour.
Renewi Tour, and then the Chrono des Nations, not as prestigious, but the riders he's beating there, really impressive.
Yeah, Remco was in form.
Yeah, he really tried winning that race,
Yeah.
and then Tarling still beats him. Like it's mind blowing what he did.
Dieter, your surprise of the season kind of surprised me.
That's good.
Arno de Lee at Omloop het Nieuwsblad. Why specifically Omloop het Nieuwsblad?
Because I really didn't expect Arno de Lee to do that. Arno de Lee has his power data open, still has. I truly looked through his power data from Bastache, because everyone that uphill finish in Bastache, that's why everyone expected a lot of Arno de Lee in Omloop het Nieuwsblad, but that was crap, to be honest, because his power data there really wasn't that good. So I thought, he's never going to make it around Omloop het Nieuwsblad, but then in like I think it was 1 week after Bastache and the guys or 2, and he took another 5 steps forward because his power file in Omloop het Nieuwsblad was two times better than all the things he did before. So I really didn't expect that, and I openly said that on the podcasts, etc. So I was convinced, and he surprised me in a positive way there, and that's I read biggest surprise of the season, and that's the one that popped up immediately because I was surprised in a positive way there.
Yves, you were surprised during Giro d'Italia by the dark eye Junko of Ottawa.
Derek G. Before that Giro, who was Derek G?
A total stranger.
I remember him being very impressive in Paris-Roubaix, but then
his flat.
His whole back wheel.
Only with I remember one video indeed with trouble, but besides that, Derek G, stranger in the peloton, nice. After the Giro, a god. Not only because he was 7 times in the break during the Giro, and
an attack on the last stage.
4 times second, and an attack in the last stage. And he joined our podcast, so the guy is a god.
That's the biggest surprise of all.
And he's a surprise of the season for me.
Yeah, good one. I think mine isn't as strong as some of the ones I heard already. Kian Uitenbroeks.
No, that wasn't a surprise in my opinion. I predicted that before the Vuelta, so I can't say it was a surprise for me.
Yeah, well, when you predicted it, it was a surprise for me as well. No, he was really stronger than I thought, and there's really a base on which he can build. And I do think as well that if Vlasov wouldn't have been there, it could have been even better.
Yeah, and this year's Vuelta parcours wasn't even super good for him because he really likes those Tour de France stages with like 4 how do you say it in English, like hors categorie. I can't buiten categorie in English.
Yeah, but they will understand.
Okay. So those like 4 super long and tough climbs with a lot of cages in the legs, that's what suits Kian, and we didn't have that a lot this Vuelta. I think 2 times, and even then not super duper tough. So like a really, really tough Grand Tour suits him even better. So it looks, and as a young rider, that's you would think it would be the other way around. So he's good the coming years.
I'm about to give my vote to Derek G.
But
Derek G rode 1,045 kilometers in front of the peloton in the Giro.
Jesus
but I just thought about something. Koets Vuelta. Why doesn't anybody have that one? Nobody expected that, I think.
But as Yves said before Giro d'Italia, Derek G was a total stranger to me.
Yeah, GC Koes also was a total stranger to me.
I mean, the hype already existed for some, so I can agree with Derek G.
Yes, come on, guys, keep on pushing. Come on, baby.
It's
Yeah, I am going to win with the Lee Omloop Nieuwsblad, so I'm going to.
I also don't understand that because I had him for Sanremo preseason pick.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I didn't expect that. Yeah, I just gave the
You just
explanation
think
why I
I'm an
didn't
idiot.
think that. So yeah, yeah. And if you saw him riding in Milan Sanremo,
I mean, he rode as an idiot, but doesn't make me one.
Derek G, there we go. Final category, we basically already talked about it. A women's surprise of the season. Bram, Dieter, and I, we have Kopecky Tourmalet once again. Yves, I don't know, if he didn't understood what he had to do, but you can defend yourself. Christina Schweinberger.
yeah. It's her. The whole season from Christina Schweinberger has been strong. Yes, she didn't win a lot of races, but still, she performed on a very high level, starting in the Belgian Classics in Omloop het Nieuwsblad, finishing 8th, before a couple of more top 10 places and 15th in Roubaix. Then riding very strong in the Lotto Thüringen Ladies Tour, a strong result in the Tour as well, a strong Worlds campaign in Glasgow with a podium in the time trial and a 5th place in the road race, and ending the season on a high as well, with a 3rd position once again in the individual time trial in the European Championships, performing strong in Emilia and the Chronon des Nations, finishing 2nd, Benchimay 2nd as well. Because it's not really a surprise moment, but it's a surprise for me, the way she performed through the season, and I hope to see her step up next season.
I want to throw one in here. Alison Jackson, Roubaix.
Yeah, sure.
Who thought that?
No one.
I would. Yeah, it wasn't against the big guns, you know. So
They were there. They were in the race.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
But
But
the circumstances were different.
yeah,
There were a lot of crashes in the back by the favorites, and that gave an advantage to the breakaway. Meanwhile, comparing it to Kopecky on Tourmalet, if you told me like the day before she would do that, what she did, I would have said, mate, are you drunk?
I mean, for me, the specific one I wrote is her getting 2nd in GC, because that, like, her getting 2nd in GC on a Grand Tour, is like
That's
mind-blowing.
basically
She's a
a
classics
consequence, yeah.
rider. What's she doing on the 2nd step of the tour? I still don't understand it, how it's possible.
yeah, me neither. But like, if she had a very specific preparation, that was the plan. She went on altitude camps. She trained on long climbs, but she trained on literally the opposite of long climbs and short efforts in junior races. So yeah, it's crazy.
All right, it's 3-1, Yves.
But also a good name from Yves.
Absolutely. All right, that
Thank you,
means 20 awards are handed out, at least 18. Now we need an audience to give 2 more. But we can close the 2023 season this way. And Bram, it's all yours.
On to 2024 for sure. This is also the last episode of this podcast season, so we get to actually close out the season. And that's a wrap for today's Domestique Cycling podcasts. A big thank you to our audience for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, consider supporting us on Ko-Fi and X. And if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I've got the spots, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.